Lane hogging is when you fail to return to the left lane when you have finished overtaking. In Great Britain, when you're driving on a dual carriageway, including motorways, when you have finished overtaking, you should return to the left lane. The left lane should be used for driving and the right lanes should be used for overtaking. So why is it then so many people have stopped doing this? Why is lane 2 becoming the new lane 1? Well, I've been teaching people to drive since 2009. I've sat with many people and heard many reasons, and I've read thousands of comments on this YouTube channel. So in this video, I'm going to compile a list of reasons why people have started to hog the middle lane. Probably the most common reason why people say they hog the middle lane is because if they're trying to do 70 miles per hour and they go back to lane 1, it's not long, usually seconds, before they get stuck behind a slower moving vehicle like I am now. I'm doing 55 miles an hour behind this green van. And depending on how busy it is, they may not get another opportunity to move back to lane 2 to overtake and go faster for some time. At the moment it's not too busy, so I don't think I'll be waiting here too long before I can change lane. In fact, after this van, I think that gap's big enough, I can indicate and I can move to lane 2 and speed up. But getting trapped in lane 1 and going slow for a long period of time is one reason why some people hog the middle lane. Something to bear in mind when you're watching these videos, or any video that uses an action camera like this or a dash cam, is that they have a wide angle lens. And that's good because you can see more of what's going on, but it's bad because it distorts your view. It makes objects look a lot further away than they actually are, around about twice as far away than they are to my eyes. So you may be thinking that I'm following the vehicle too far back, and that's going to encourage people to undertake me because I'm not keeping up with the flow of traffic. But I am keeping up. I'm trying to leave around about a 2-second gap, which is recommended in the dry. It's just the camera makes the vehicle in front look much further away than it actually is. Here is an example. The green van has just started to enter the shadow under the bridge. Let's see how long it takes me to get there. That took just 2.5 seconds. On camera, the green van looks much further ahead than that. This is how dash cam and action cam footage can be misleading. Another reason why people tell me they hog the middle lane and don't like going back to lane 1 is because the number of lane changes they need to do. As they're likely to catch up with a slow moving vehicle very soon, it means they're going to have to change lane again. And changing lane is, well, it's not dangerous, but it is a hazard. I'm doing 60 now because there is a car hogging lane 3 there, you see. This is what happens. They're in lane 3 because they don't want to keep changing lane. It's probably one of the reasons. Now I'm catching up with the lorry. I've got to move to lane 2 again, which is yet another hazard. I have to make sure this blue car on my right isn't also trying to move to lane 2. And you'd be surprised how often that mistake happens. There's not a lot that can go wrong on these roads, but a lane change is one of those. So some people believe trying to do minimal lane changes increases safety. Some people tell me they hog the middle lane because the left lane can become a leaving lane like it has done now. If I want to stay on the M25, I need to be in lane 2, 3 or 4, but I'm in lane 1 and that's the A10, and these signs and road markings are telling me that. And the reason why they hog the middle lane is they feel anxious that if they go to lane 1 and it becomes a leaving lane, if it's busy, they may not get the opportunity to move back to lane 2 to be able to stay on the road they intend to stay on. This is one reason you can end up going slow on these roads. Elephant races. You have one lorry trying to overtake another lorry that's ever so slightly slower, and that bunches everybody up, all the cars, into the rightmost lane, which is lane 4 in this case. So at the moment I'm in lane 3 waiting to be able to move to lane 4 so I can go faster. I'm stuck doing 60 miles an hour behind this lorry in lane 3, and that white van undertook me. Actually, I had an opportunity there, but I was concentrating on that white van a little bit. When I have an opportunity to move to lane, that wasn't safe. When I have an opportunity to move to lane 4, I will, but at the moment this black car's still a bit close in front. Let them get further ahead so I can maintain my following distance, and now I can. So I'm in lane 3 doing 60 miles an hour. It's because of these lorries. All that needs to happen is the slower lorry just needs to lift off the throttle a little bit and help the faster lorry past. That would allow the traffic to move much faster, but the lorries are dominating the road and slowing everything down behind them. I find one of the most common reasons why I end up going slow on these roads isn't actually because of middle lane hoggers, it's because of elephant races. Lorries trying to overtake slightly slower lorries. Another reason people give me for hogging the middle lane is that they don't feel it's sensible to have the left lane as the busiest lane on the dual carriageway or motorway, because the left lane is where traffic tries to merge and enter the main road. Therefore, if this lane, what I'm in now, lane 1, is the busiest lane, it's harder for them to merge. Traffic in lane 1 has to slow down sometimes or even change lane. So having the cars spread out a little bit and not having the maximum amount of traffic in lane 1 as possible may make it safer to enter the motorway. Some people tell me the reason why they like to hog the middle lane or try to avoid going back to lane 1 is because if they're doing 70 miles an hour, then why should they move back to a lane where they're going to end up having to slow down very shortly when they get stuck behind the lorry? If they're doing 70 miles an hour, surely they're going the maximum speed they can, and therefore no one should be overtaking them. However, I need to point out that not all speedos are the same. So at the moment mine is reading 67. I'm following this vehicle in front around about a 2-second gap, but I know that if it's 67 on there, I'm actually probably doing about 64, maybe even 63. Not everybody's speedo is the same. You may be saying now, I should be moving back to lane 1 because I'm not overtaking, but truth is I'm actually waiting to move to lane 4 because I'm only doing 55 miles an hour, 58 now, and keeping up with the traffic in front of me, but I want to do 70. So at the moment my plan is to overtake. I'm just waiting to overtake. I'm not hogging the lane here, I'm in a queue. There is a difference. Another reason I get for not wanting to go back to lane 1 and wanting to stay in lane 2 or 3, although this is a reason I don't get very often from drivers, but it does come up, and that is the quality of the road surface in lane 1. Lane 1 gets the highest level of traffic and the highest number of heavy vehicles which wear these grooves into the road from their wheels. They're known as tram lines. And depending on how bad those tram lines are, and your car as well, depends on how much your car is going to follow the tram lines. It's known as tram lining, when the car sort of pulls itself from left to right as it sort of falls into the grooves. And often the grooves are wider than that of a typical car, so you won't just sit in them like a lorry, you will move around a little bit. This car doesn't really seem to be much of a problem, even when the grooves are quite bad, and they're not bad at all at the moment. But this seems to stay more or less in a straight line without much effort from me. But I have owned a car, an old Vauxhall VX220, and that tram lined horrendously. If there was bad tram lines on the road surface, you would have to hold on to the wheel because the wheel would be pulling you from left to right. It's not uncommon to hear the term slow lane and fast lane, but these lanes don't exist. In Great Britain you have a driving lane and an overtaking lane, or multiple overtaking lanes, but some people want a slow lane and a fast lane. Let's say you have a 3-lane carriageway. The left lane can be the slow lane for vehicles that are restricted in speed, like lorries, and the middle lane can be the fast lane for vehicles that don't have a speed restrictor on them, and then the right lane can be for overtaking. What do you think? Do you think that would make the roads safer? Do you think it will help you get where you want to go quicker if you don't have to be stuck behind elephant races for half the journey? It certainly won't help lorry drivers because they won't be able to overtake. But why don't you let me know your thoughts in the comments? On the subject of lorries not being allowed to overtake each other, I was recently driving in a place where this was the case. In fact, I think I've driven in other places where lorries can't overtake each other, but I remember this one because it was only 3 months ago. I did 1,000 miles across Poland. Speed limit on the motorway, 140 kilometers per hour or 87 miles per hour. The good thing about the lorries not being able to overtake each other when there's only 2 lanes was I could keep going at near that speed limit most of the time because I wasn't getting stuck behind these slow moving elephant races. The bad thing was when I wanted to enter the motorway, it could be a problem because you get these trains of lorries like 10 or 20 long, because the lorries would catch up with each other but then not be able to overtake each other, meaning you get these big long lines of lorries, making it harder to merge onto the motorway. Wouldn't be a problem if they were keeping a safer following distance, but often they weren't. I think it's important I make this very clear. In Great Britain, when you have finished overtaking, you should return to the left lane, lane 1, the driving lane, until you need to overtake again. If you lane hog, that can be considered careless driving, which can land you with a fixed penalty, which is points on your licence and a fine. Or you could even end up in court. If you disagree with the fixed penalty, you can choose to challenge it in court also. The reason why I'm making this video is because I've seen so many comments where people really hate middle lane hoggers. They even give them an acronym. I can't remember what it is. So I thought I'd just share the reasons I've been given with you as to why some people don't like going back to lane 1. So there we are, 6 reasons some people hog the middle lane. I'm not going to give my opinion about these reasons at the moment because it's a contentious subject and I really don't fancy being attacked. All I would say is some of the reasons are more valid than others. Why don't you let me know your opinions in the comments? If you found the video interesting, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, then Collingwood are there for you because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy, and that takes away a big stress from the owner of that car that you're using to practice your driving in. Via the link at the moment, there's up to 35% off and a £20 Amazon gift card. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out the link to confused.com because you fill out 1 quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers to compare who's cheapest, and you can change your car on that quote as many times as you'd like to see how much it costs to insure different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio.